Things that are, day 3. I yank my hand back. This man is why Bobby told Gwen our secret about turning invisible. My legs are shaking, and I feel my face go pale. Gertie sits up, moves closer, leans against my knees. And this man is completely naked. He has to be. It's the only way he could be out in public. This happened to me before. 2 years ago, it was Bobby, invisible and out in public, and me there facing the same facts. That was the first time, but past experience does not make a skinny, naked, invisible Englishman any less weird or disturbing. Gertie growls again. Gertie, hush. Good girl. Sorry, I say to him. I mean, about pushing you like that. I had to. See. I'm still whispering. No apologies needed. You're Alicia, right? Alicia Van Dorn? I nod. He says, I heard Robert speaking about his girlfriend when he was in New York, and he mentioned she was blind. Robert. That's what Bobby's been calling himself. Says it's his professional name. It's what Gwen calls him, and even though I've got a million questions whizzing through my head, all I want to ask of this man is what what Robert said when he was speaking about me, about his girlfriend, when he was in New York. But I say, why is Bobby being followed? Because of me, and because of this condition we've both had. Again, I can hear the desperation in his voice. I had a tangle with the police in New York, and I managed to get away, but not before a young officer got a grip on my arm for a few seconds, just long enough to become extremely upset by what he was seeing, or rather not seeing. And now the authorities in New York are struggling with an impossible concept, that there's a transparent man on the loose in Manhattan, possibly more than one, and possibly elsewhere as well. And that scares them, as it jolly well should. And I'm certain there's a huge push to get to the bottom of it, an invisible manhunt. As he's talking, I got this sudden urge to get rid of this man. Like maybe chain him to a concrete block and dump him off a pier. Not that I'd do that, but the thought comes anyway, because it sounds like he's inches away from exposing this secret, which would be awful for Bobby, awful for me too. Because if this takes one wrong turn, the government will take him, or the spy masters will get him, or the physicists and biologists. Someone will take him, because Bobby is Exhibit A, the living proof that a human being can vanish from sight and then come back. And for anyone who sees the world as an us and them sort of place, invisibility offers an irresistible power. I've had a long time to think about this, about the explosive effect this information could have if it gets loose, and not just on our own private lives, Bobby's and mine and our families. We'll just be the early casualties. I push the grim thoughts away, try to refocus on the immediate problem, and I ask, so, what's Bobby got to do with all of it? I mean, with you and the police. You're the one they're after, right? I still don't get why these people are watching him. Yes, well, that's the sad bit. Robert and I, we got off to a very bad start when we first met in New York, and I'm to blame for a big part of that. And he, footsteps on the tile floor, moving toward me from the right, then shuffling to a stop in front of me. A tall man with a deep voice clears his throat. Excuse me, miss. I'm Officer Dennison, U of C Security. Are you all right? Can I offer some assistance? I smile as best as I can, tilting my face toward his voice. No, I'm fine. Just bundling up before I head for home. Good, because it's cold out there. Have you got a long walk? I could get a university patrol car here right away. Be happy to help out. No, I'll be fine, thanks. It's only about 7 blocks. I come here all the time. Oh, I know. I've seen you a lot. Well, sorry to bother you. Have a good afternoon, all right? I smile and nod. Thanks again. I begin gathering my things again, find my gloves, then readjust my scarf, get to my feet, put the strap of my bag over my right shoulder, and I hear the officer walking back toward the security desk. Poor guy. He got worried watching the blind girl nodding and talking to herself. I don't blame him, and I bet he's still got an eye on me. Gertie, come. Good girl. We start for the doors, and she's nervous as a sparrow, but we're on the move, leaving, and she's glad. Not me, because I need to ask that man more questions about what happened with him and the police, about why he's here in Chicago, about the men following Bobby, and about that other thing, what Robert said about me, his girlfriend. I'm straining my ears, hoping to hear a whisper from William. It doesn't come. And a minute later, Gertie and I are through the double doors, across the courtyard, and headed for home, walking into a biting wind. And I know that man is not going to be anywhere near us now, not in this cold, not without clothes. So my questions will have to wait. And other things will have to wait as well, probably. Because about an hour ago, I did call Bobby, after I worked on my history project, and after more scolding from my inner voice, and Bobby's picking me up in about an hour, and we're going over to his house. We've got a date. We're going to be alone. And after that phone call, an hour ago, I had it all worked out in my mind, how Bobby and I would find the perfect moment, how we'd sit close together, how we'd talk, finally. But now I have to tell him about William, and about the people who are shadowing him. Because even if I hate it, and even if Bobby and I never get to truly be alone, and even if it means that my heart shrivels up and dies, I still have to deal with things as they are. Right? Right? And the way things are at the moment is rotten, because that's that feeling I've been having. That's everything at risk. It's not a feeling anymore. It's a certainty. Chapter 6, Orbits. I'm on Ellis Avenue, a little more than halfway home, physically. Mentally, I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm in New York, trying to understand what happened there. I'm in the middle of 3 or 4 imaginary conversations with Bobby, and I'm back at the library questioning the Englishman, who is naked and invisible. I'm handling that particular circumstance pretty well, I think, dealing with it calmly, rationally. If I weren't blind, I know I'd be having a more severe reaction to that man. But disembodied voices are nothing new to me. I understand William is invisible, but I can only imagine how others can't see him. Actually, not seeing him with my own eyes would be more of a shock. That's my theory. Plus, I'm one of the few people on Earth who has experience in this field. Maybe I should have included that as a skill on my college applications. Perfectly at ease with invisible people. Because I'm not frightened by this man. I'm more scared about the people following Bobby. Because I don't believe they're really after him. At least not yet. The police want to get to the bottom of their encounter with William, and there must be some way they think following Bobby will help that. That's what I think. Because they definitely want to find William. Because as far as they're concerned, either a weird and very dangerous phenomenon is for real, or they've just got a very crazy New York police officer on their hands, the one who reported that he had his hands around the arm of an invisible man. So really the main thing is to keep William from being caught. Because if they get to William, they'll want Bobby too, because he's taken the round trip. And they'll also want to round up anyone else who knows anything at all about the phenomenon, which includes me, my parents, and Bobby's parents, and Gwen, the newest member of our little club. But my thoughts are just chasing themselves around in circles. I need facts, and I need Bobby. I've already searched for my phone 4 times to tell him people are watching him, but it's not like he's doing anything suspicious or illegal. If I tell him he's being followed, he might start acting weird or something, and he might not want to come over and pick me up for our date, to go to his house. I haven't figured out what happens if my mom's home, what I'm going to tell her about going out this afternoon. She's not a big Bobby fan. That can probably be traced to the day 2 years ago when he showed up naked at her front door, invisible. Yes, but naked. Not a good first impression. Because back then, if Bobby wanted to get out of his house, he had to bundle up, completely cover his body and face, or do the opposite, like the Englishman I just met. Mom won't like me going over to Bobby's. Of course, she probably doesn't know his parents are away, and if she doesn't ask, I don't have to tell her. That's my rule. I try not to lie, but I don't require myself to volunteer sensitive information. 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got this meter in my head that's always counting steps, always keeping myself located on a mental grid. I've turned left onto 55th Street now, and I've got about 220 steps straight ahead to reach Drexel Avenue. Bobby tells me all the time how great MapQuest is and how Google Earth is so amazing, and I'm sure he's right. But I have to make my own maps. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I walk through our house in my mind. Then I go out for a mental walk. I walk south on Ellis towards the university, noticing my place markers, the smell of the asphalt from the big parking lot on 55th Street, the smell of the bleach from the laundry dryer vents at the university gym, the little dog with a high-pitched voice who barks at Gertie and me from a ground floor window of the Young building, loud music from the dorms and the commons. When I cross 57th Street, I take a few turns around the main quads, find my favorites, stone archways with the deepest echoes, listen for the chimes from the bell tower at the Rockefeller Chapel. And when I'm good and tired, I use my mental compass and I find my way home. I go in the front door, climb the stairs, turn right, go past the bathroom, find my own door, and climb back into bed. I've never left. 85, 86, 87. And whenever I walk for real, or not, I feel how my world has shrunk. And I fight that every day, every second. I refuse to let the whole wide universe become a few small maps folded up inside my head. Because everything keeps trying to collapse inward. The way a dying star goes dense and dark. The gravity grabs all the light. No escape. But I'm fighting it. And I'm ambitious. I'm going to bring all that brightness back inside. I'm going to include it all. In my consciousness. Which is the only place it ever was anyway. Deep philosophy, right here on 55th Street. And I'm not kidding myself. All this mental chit-chat is just to keep myself from worrying about invisible men and professional stalkers. And Bobby. And the whole newsreel drama of my life. Gertie's calmed down. A close encounter with a person who smells and moves and talks, but who looks all wrong. Can't blame her for getting edgy. And the more I think about that man, the less I trust him. There was something in his voice that scared me. Maybe the desperation. Because a person who's truly desperate can be dangerous and dishonest and volatile. But Gertie's put that behind her now, and she's marching ahead. Wish I could say the same. When I grow up, I want to be as mature and stable and single-minded as my dog. The steps have been stepped, and the turns have been turned, and as I opened our front gate, I hear the squeak of the top hinge. The picket fence along the sidewalk was Dad's idea to help me distinguish our front walk from the others on this side of the street. Up the stairs, open the storm door, take the key out of my bag, find the lock, turn the key and the knob, step into the entryway, then reach up on the wall to the alarm panel and punch the code before the 30 seconds are up, which isn't easy when my fingers are this cold. System is armed. Hi, I'm home. My voice echoes up the front staircase. No answer. Good. Mom's not here, which means I might not have to face an inquisition before I go to Bobby's, if I can get out of here fast enough. I unclip the handle from Gertie's harness, hang it on the hook by the tall mirror, released from duty. Gertie trots back toward the kitchen. Then I put my computer bag on the little bench in the front hallway, put my gloves and hat and scarf on the table beside it. I hang my coat on its hanger and shut the closet door. A place for everything and everything in its place. Hook, bench, table, hanger. My life depends on knowing exactly where everything is, which is another reason that William's arrival is so upsetting. The newness, the unpredictability. That's almost more troubling than the invisibility, because he's in our orbit now, mine and Bobby's, floating around like an asteroid or a chunk of space debris. Something else to bump into. Talking to Bobby ought to help. He can put a few more things in order for me, help me find a hook for my hanging up an invisible Englishman. But not yet. Right now, I'm pushing it all out of my mind, again. I want to go up to my room and get ready, maybe shower, change outfits, because I have a date. And something wonderful could still happen. It's possible. I'm holding on to that. My so-called date with Bobby. Today. No matter what. Chapter 7. Gentleman Caller. Bobby always says I look great, but he doesn't know I work at it. Not obsessively or anything, just enough. Blindness and vanity, bad combination. And this afternoon will be the first time we spent any time alone together in ages. I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower and stop thinking about everything except Bobby. And I know I'm being stupid, getting all prettied up, but I'm going to anyway. I'm going to wear my dark green cashmere sweater and my new tan wool slacks. Maybe even risk a little blush on my winter pale cheeks. I'm sure I look like a ghost. Looks. Like I can afford to be worrying about my looks. But the first things first. Because before anything else happens, Gertie needs a meal, and then she needs to go out. She's on a special diet that helps regulate how often she needs to do her business, which seems gross, but me knowing exactly what she needs is part of our deal. She's been right at my side for the past 3 hours, being my eyes, taking care of me. So now it's my turn. Symbiosis. I get to the kitchen, I already know where Gertie is. She's lying down with her nose aimed at her big porcelain bowl, ready for the food ritual. And after I've got the kibbles in the bowl and added a cup of hot water and stirred it with a spoon, I straighten up and say, "All right, Gertie, food." She waits until I say that. She'd wait all day with the meal right there in front of her nose. Once I forgot to give her permission. Daddy came home at 9 p.m., and she was lying there looking at her food. Only happened once. And thinking of Daddy makes me wonder again about all those visits from Dr. Phillips, Bobby's dad. All that time they spent out back in the study. I asked Dad once what they were working on, and he said it was university business, a joint project of the astronomy and physics departments, which makes sense, I guess. I sit down at the table and listen to Gertie. 15 or 20 seconds of furious eating and mealtime is over. She's beginning to lick the bowl. The last part of the ritual is a trip to the backyard, but before I get up from my chair, the front doorbell rings. Gertie's claws skitter on the tile as she bolts past me, through the door and along the hallway, light on her feet for a German shepherd, but she doesn't bark. She never barks. Probably Bobby 20 minutes early for a date. A good sign, except I haven't had time to shower and change. Guess I have to let that go. I follow my head map along the hallway wall, past the library doors on the right, past the living room doorway on the left, then right to the front staircase banister to get my bearings, and then 8 steps straight across the front hall. Gertie whines softly, almost a yawn, to help me find her. I pat her head and she's sitting to the left of the vestibule door, patient and sweet, her nose just below the doorknob. The bell rings again, and I can picture him there, maybe a little nervous, a shy smile on his lips. And when I open the door, I'm going to act completely normal, even though I know people are watching him, watching us. I'm through the vestibule door, then 2 steps, and I put a hand against the door that opens onto the front porch. Gertie sniffs at the frame. I'm sure it's Bobby, but I've never just opened the door. Hello? The door is thick, so I talk loud. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm with the FBI, Special Agent Charles Porter. I need to talk to the parents of Alicia Van Dorn. If you'll take a look through the peephole in the door there, I'm holding up my badge and my photo ID for you. It's a deep voice, confident and official. The voice of a man who carries a gun. The voice of a man with massive reinforcements at his command. My heart's beating so fast I can barely speak. I'm sorry, but her parents aren't home. A 2-second pause. The man says, "Miss, are you Alicia Van Dorn?" I gulp and I imagine he heard it. Right through the door, and I say, "Yes, I am." My voice is shaky and I reach down and put my left hand on Gertie's head. She leans against my leg. She's not scared at all. "Can you tell me when your parents will be home? If it's possible, I need to stop back today or tonight and speak with all three of you. I don't know when they'll be home. It could be any minute. Which is true. Sometimes Mom is home by mid-afternoon on Thursday. And Dad, too. And sometimes they both get busy and I don't see anyone until dinner time or later. I hear the latch of the storm door. Hear it open. Then the hinges chirp and the latch clicks shut. Miss, I put my card inside the storm door, and I've circled my cell phone number. Please ask one of your parents to call me as soon as possible. All right? I say, yes, sir. I'll tell them. Thanks. Then a second later, the voice says, and you did the right thing, miss, not opening the door to a stranger. Have a good afternoon. His footsteps cross the porch, go down the steps, and the top hinge on the gate squeaks. I'm back in the hallway, pushing the vestibule door shut, glad to lean against it to get my breath back. The FBI wants to talk to me and my parents. We're going to have an official interview with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're being investigated. All of us. Bobby, now I've got to call him. But can I do that? I mean safely? Because if the FBI is on a case, don't they tap the phones? Listen in? Doesn't matter. I have to call him. And I've got my phone out. Flip, scroll, select, dial. Bobby picks up in the middle on the first ring. There's music blasting. The Beatles. A Hard Day's Night. It stops and he says, hi, I'm close. Be there in 5 minutes, maybe less. Meet you out front? No. Come to the garage door back in the alley, okay? And I'll let you in. But I thought I couldn't. See you there, okay? And I hang up. One of the last movies I ever saw in the theater was Enemy of the State. I know it's not smart to base any thinking on stuff I saw in a Will Smith movie about a huge invasion of privacy by the U.S. government, but I can't help feeling like there are satellites overhead taking high-resolution pictures of my neighborhood, and agents with binoculars out front in a white van, and other agents with headphones recording everything. And they're all wearing dark suits and dark glasses. Gertie, come. I take the harness handle from its hook by the mirror and clip it on, and right away I feel better. No matter what resources Special Agent Charles Porter has, I've got Gertie. And now my dog and I are going to walk to the back of the house, then down the 4 steps from the kitchen, across the small landing, then up 4 steps to another door, the one on the right that opens into the covered walkway that leads out back to my dad's study. 12 steps. Then we'll walk straight across his study, 10 steps, and through the opposite door into the hallway that connects to the garage, 14 steps. It's a lot longer than just going out the back door and across the yard to the garage, but it's a more secure path, and it's more hidden. And I think it's what I should do in this kind of situation. Except I don't know what kind of situation this is. Do I? No. But it's time to stop thinking. Time to do. And I say, Gertie, forward. And I give myself the same command. Alicia, forward. It's the only way to go in this kind of situation. Chapter 8. Squeaks. There are 2 cars in this world I can positively identify by sound. My dad's rumbling old Saab convertible and Bobby's Volvo station wagon, which is even rumblier and clankier and squeakier. After waiting in the garage for a minute or so, I hear the Volvo and I push the button that lifts the wide door onto the alley. It's a big garage, so there's room for Bobby to pull in next to our car. When the engine stops, I push the button again and the door grinds its way back down. The car door groans open and Bobby says, how can we shut the garage? Aren't we going to my house? He's out of the car and standing beside me. I hope so, I say, but first we have to talk. He takes my hand. I know. And I have no idea what he means, but he's got my complete attention. Then Bobby says, I acted like a real jerk. Back at the library. I wanted that to be a lot different than it turned out. More friendly and everything, and I'm sorry. He pauses, brushes the hair away from my face. So yeah, let's talk, okay? And I can scream because this is the perfect beginning for the kind of talk I want us to have about how we feel about each other, and we can't, not yet. So I say, Bobby, I'm so glad you said that, because I felt awful. After you left the library, I want to talk too, about everything, but some other stuff happened, just in the last hour or so, and it's serious. What? What do you mean? He says. You're not, sick or something, are you? And there's almost a quaver in his voice. I squeeze his hand. No, it's nothing like that. It's William. I had a talk with William. William? William who? The man from New York. The man you were arguing with at 3 o'clock this morning. Bobby takes a step back, lets go of my hand. No way. He called you? But, how did he get your number? He didn't call. He's here in Chicago, Bobby. He came up to me in the library and started talking. About 40 minutes ago. Said that he'd seen 2 men following you. Said he thought you were in danger. He said someone is probably watching me, too. Bobby pushes a quick breath out between his lips. This is bad. What else did he say? That was about it. We got caught off because the security guard came over and talked to me. And it gets even worse because just a few minutes ago, an FBI agent came to the front door. No way, the FBI? Here? I nod. Yeah, and he wants to talk to me and my mom and dad. They're not home now. We're supposed to call him later. Gertie whines softly, nudges my leg. I forgot. Poor thing, she still needs to go out. So I take off the harness and handle and open the door to the backyard. Okay, Gertie. Good girl. I shut the door and turn back to Bobby. I lift one eyebrow and I say, so, what do you think? What's going on? And what should we do? He hesitates and starts over, speaking slowly. First of all, I'm sorry that you're getting pulled into all of this. Again, I didn't want that to happen. He sounds small and tired, and his voice has tenderness I haven't heard for a long time, because I really messed up. That's what's going on. I set something in motion, and I have no idea how it's going to end. And it's all because I saw this guy's shadow in a store in New York, and I should have just turned away, pretended not to see him. But I didn't. I stared. I'm hugging my arms. It's freezing here in the garage. Let's go talk in the house, okay? We can walk through my dad's study. I could call Gertie in, clip the handle back onto her harness and have her guide me, or I could easily walk back into the house without my dog, without any help at all. But I wanted to be helped. Could I hold your arm? Sure. Bobby steps ahead of me, and I put my right hand above his left elbow. And he moves his arm, hugging my hand against his side. He's wearing a fleece jacket, too light for a day this cold. I feel the warmth of his arm through the fabric. As he opens the door to the walkway, he says, "How did William sound to you? I mean, besides British. Did he seem strange or anything? Or even, dangerous? Because when I first met him in New York, I thought he was a real creep. A genuine psycho. Which is why I got the police involved." Really? The word comes out like a gasp, because I'm shocked. 2 years ago, we were so careful to keep everything about the invisibility as a complete secret, especially from the authorities. He says, I didn't tell them exactly what to look for or anything, but I needed William to back off, leave me alone. So I told the police where to find his neighborhood, and that he was great at disguising himself. You told him that? Again, I'm surprised. Yeah, he says, and I can hear the regret in his voice, because it felt like my only choice. I was afraid he was going to start hurting people or maybe take a hostage or something. Tried to force me to tell him how the whole process worked, and I knew I couldn't tell him that, so I told the police to watch out for him, just to give him something else to worry about. And I wish I hadn't, because it didn't go the way I planned. I didn't think things would loop back to me, or to you, and I'm really sorry about that. Again the tenderness, and I squeeze his arm a little, and I say, it's okay, we'll just have to deal with it. But about you and him and the police and what happened in New York, I think he was starting to tell me about that in the library before we got cut off. But really, he didn't sound creepy to me. Desperate, yes, and scared that the police are after him. Except I don't think he's sure the police actually know anything about the invisibility, or even if any of them believe the whole invisibility thing is for real. Really? Bobby says. Why do you say that? Because William said that one policeman had hold of his arm for about 10 seconds, and then he got loose. Got away clean. And that's the only actual contact he's had with anyone at the NYPD. That is huge news. There's a gush of relief in Bobby's voice. Then more soberly he adds, if it's true, because if there's only one policeman saying that he had his hands around some invisible guy, I bet the cops called a psychiatrist, not a physicist, which means we might still be able to keep the whole thing bottled up, unless William does something really stupid, like getting himself caught, or attacking someone. And you're sure you didn't get a bad vibe when you were talking to him? I shake my head. He's really tense, and I got this undercurrent of desperation, but I think he's mostly scared. That's the feeling I got, and I think he's honestly wanted to help, to warn you about the men following you. Bobby opens the door into Dad's study. He says, see, that's what I don't get. Why this guy's being so nicey nice all of a sudden. Because when we talked last night in New York, he even apologized for the way he'd acted at first. He said we had to work together now, and he's trying to help me, and of course he wants me to help him. But he was not like that when he showed up at Gwen's house in the city. He'd seen me spot his shadow and then followed us home, silently right into their living room, threatened us, really scared us. All that could have been an act, I guess, but I don't get it. We're halfway across the study when Bobby stops. He says, what is your dad keeping pets back here? Hermit crabs or hamsters? No, I don't think so. So what are the little cages for? Cages? Really? I haven't been in this room for months. Your dad's been back here a lot more than I have. My dad? What do you mean? He asked. The two of them have been working on something for the university, my dad said. A joint project of the physics department and the astronomy department. So what are these cages like? And I'm picturing the way I remembered this room from years ago. About 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. Daddy's big desk near the garage end. Bookcases lining both walls, an oriental rug on the floor, a long oak table covered with stacks of scientific journals, and no windows except for the 3 skylights. Here, he says, take a look. The table's got a lot of other stuff on it, and all sorts of electrical stuff, so be careful. And Bobby guides my hands to the oak table, and then to a clear space near the center. And what we have are small glass aquariums with wire mesh tops, 3 of them side by side. And they're empty? I asked. Yep, just wood shavings, and little food pellets, and some tiny poop. Nice. Shh, I say, what's that? What? He asked. I lean down closer to one of the cages. Little scratching sounds. Hear it now? Yeah, he says. Give the cage a shake. I do, and Bobby gasps. Alicia. What? And I hear him slide the other two cages around on the table, then the sound of scrabbling claws and little high-pitched squeaks. An involuntary shiver runs through me. Those squeaks, he said. And the tiny droppings? They are mice in these cages, in all three of them. Down under the shavings? Yeah, Bobby says, and now up on top, moving around. I'm confused. You mean like little lab mice? Exactly, he says. The kind used for experiments. But my dad's not that kind of scientist. Never was. Well, he is now, Bobby says, because these little guys have been worked on. You mean like they're deformed or something? Bobby, that's horrible. No, he says, not deformed. At least I don't think so. But I can't really tell. All these mice? They're invisible.